All right, let's get right into it. Back with another deep dive. This time, we're rewinding back to 1987 to revisit a film that's, well, it's become a bit of a phenomenon, hasn't it? Dirty Dancing.
Oh, yeah, it definitely has.
I mean, I bet you can practically hear that iconic final song playing in your head right now. But we're here to go beyond the surface, to really explore what makes Dirty Dancing so enduring.
Right, because there's a lot more to unpack than just that lift, isn't there?
Exactly. So let's transport ourselves back to the summer of '63 to Kellerman's mountain house in the Catskills. Now, for those who might not know, the Catskills were a pretty big deal, especially for Jewish families back then.
Oh, absolutely. They were a haven, really, a place to escape the city and just embrace, leisure and community. And the film does a subtle job of weaving that cultural context into the narrative.
It adds this extra layer to this story, right? And speaking of layers, we've got baby Houseman, this idealistic young woman who's, she's yearning for something more than her privileged life seems to offer.
Yeah, and her relationship with her sister Lisa really highlights that. Lisa's all about appearances, fitting in, while Baby is searching for deeper meaning. You can see it in everything, from their fashion choices to how they interact with the world around them.
It's like they're living in two different worlds, even though they're sisters. And then into this mix walks Johnny Castle, the dance instructor who kind of turns Baby's world upside down.
Patrick Swayze in that role, he just oozes charisma, doesn't he?
Oh, he definitely does. But what's interesting is there's also this vulnerability beneath the surface. Johnny's not just this heartthrob. He's grappling with class prejudice, expectations. He's more complex than he might seem at first glance.
I think that's part of why the film works so well. It's not just surface level.
Exactly. And it's not all sunshine and roses either. Dirty Dancing tackles some pretty heavy issues. We see abortion, class conflict, social injustice. Pretty bold for a movie released in the '80s.
Right. I mean, take Penny, for instance, Johnny's dance partner. Her storyline with the unwanted pregnancy and the botched abortion. It's a stark reminder of the limited options women had back then and, honestly, the struggles that still exist today.
It's heartbreaking, and Baby's reaction to it all is so powerful.
Yeah.
She defies her family, risks everything to help Penny. You see her empathy, her willingness to fight for what's right.
And she doesn't back down even when facing those who try to dismiss her or, well, mansplain the situation.
Exactly. Think about that scene with Robbie, the waiter, who, well, yeah, he's responsible for Penny's pregnancy. He tries to play it down, but Baby shuts him down. It's a fantastic moment, showing just how much she's grown since the beginning of the film.
It's really well written, the way Eleanor Bergstein weaves these complex issues into the narrative. They don't feel forced or preachy. They're just part of the story.
Yeah, it's organic, natural. And
Yeah.
speaking of organic, how about that soundtrack? I mean, it's basically a character in itself. From Love Man to You Don't Own Me, each song just amplifies the emotions, the mood of the story.
You're so right. It's more than just background music. It sets the scene, underscores those pivotal moments. It's a masterclass in how to use music to tell a story.
And speaking of storytelling, we've got to talk about those iconic scenes. I mean, come on, the lift of the lake, the watermelon,
Oh, the watermelon.
the final dance. These moments have become pop culture touchstones, haven't they?
It's incredible how something, well, seemingly simple becomes this cultural phenomenon. I think it speaks to the film's power to tap into something universal. Everyone remembers those scenes, tries to recreate them.
It's like they're etched into our collective memory. But,
Oh.
okay, got to be honest, on a rewatch, some scenes, like that watermelon one, they feel a bit,
Yeah, a bit awkward, maybe.
right, like they were trying too hard for that quirkiness.
Agreed. Not every joke lands perfectly, especially when viewed through a modern lens.
Right. But what makes the film work, I think, is its willingness to go deeper. It shows the messiness of growing up, the complexities of relationships. It doesn't shy away from the tougher stuff.
Absolutely. And Baby's transformation throughout the film, it's incredibly satisfying to watch. She starts as this somewhat naive girl, but through her experiences, especially with Johnny, she finds her voice.
And let's be real, the dance sequences are phenomenal. From those steamy staff quarter scenes to the ballroom routines, it's just captivating.
The choreography is brilliant. It's not just about the steps, it's about expressing those emotions, the characters' journeys. You can practically feel the energy leaping off the screen.
And it's not just the moves, right? It's how Emil Ardolino, the director, captures it all on film. He uses the dance to tell the story, to express what the characters are going through.
Exactly. Think about that scene where Baby and Johnny are practicing the lift in the lake. It's not just about getting the move right. It's about trust, about overcoming fear, finding balance between their very different styles.
It's a metaphor for their whole relationship, isn't it? That scene, the way it's shot with the sunlight on the water, it's just breathtaking.
It is. And then there's that practice scene in the abandoned cabin. Oh, the dust motes dancing in the light. Talk about creating a mood and atmosphere. You can practically feel the heat between them.
Oh, absolutely. But it's not just about physical attraction, is it?
Not at all. Their connection runs much deeper. It's about passion, mutual respect, this yearning for something more than what their world seemed to offer.
Yeah, Johnny sees something special in Baby, that spark, the rebellious streak. He challenges her to push those boundaries both on the dance floor and in life.
But it's not a one-way street. Baby challenges Johnny too. She makes him confront his own biases, see the world through a different lens, reminds him of the beauty in the simple things.
It's a beautiful, messy kind of love story, right? But, let's be real. Their relationship isn't without its flaws. There's that age gap, the social differences, and let's face it, Johnny's a bit of a bad boy, which can be.
Trouble.
Yeah. But I think it's those differences that make their connection so compelling. They each bring something unique to the table, and their journey is about bridging those gaps.
It's about growth, transformation. And that's what makes Dirty Dancing so timeless. It's not just a romantic fantasy. It's about finding yourself, embracing those passions, and yeah, challenging the status quo.
And it reminds us that connection, that spark, can be found in the most unexpected places. Sometimes you just got to take a chance, a leap of faith, like Baby learning to dance, to trust Johnny.
That's beautifully put. It's about finding that courage within ourselves to step outside our comfort zones.
Now, we've talked a lot about Baby and Johnny, but we can't forget those supporting characters. They add so much depth, so many layers to the story.
Right. I mean, we've touched on Penny and Robbie, but what about Lisa, Baby's sister? Initially, she seems like this shallow character focused on appearances. But as the film unfolds, we see her vulnerabilities, her insecurities.
And that brief storyline with Robbie, it highlights the dangers of those casual flings, the double standards women face. It's a reminder that even in a place like Kellerman's, a supposed paradise, there are darker sides.
There always are, aren't there? And then there's Dr. Houseman, Baby's dad. He starts as this well-meaning, but kind of out-of-touch patriarch.
He's stuck in his ways, struggling to adapt to the changing world around him. But his journey, it kind of mirrors Baby's, doesn't it?
In a way, yeah. They're both learning, shedding those preconceived notions.
That scene where he finally sees Johnny not as this dirty dancer, but as a talented young man, it's such a powerful moment. It's redemption for both of them.
It really is. It shows that even the most stubborn hearts can soften, can change. It speaks to that overarching message of breaking down those barriers, those social hierarchies.
We've covered a lot of ground, but there's still so much more to explore. I'm curious to dive into the film's legacy, its impact on pop culture, and why it still resonates after all these years.
I'm with you. There's the music, the fashion, the message of self-discovery. It's become more than just a film. It's a cultural phenomenon.
Absolutely. And we'll dig into some of the criticisms the films face too, especially in light of today's conversations about representation, gender dynamics, and all that. But for now, we'll leave you with this. What is it about Dirty Dancing that still speaks to you? What parts resonate most with your own experiences? Think about that, and we'll be right back to continue our deep dive.
So, coming back to Dirty Dancing, it really hit me just how much this film has impacted, well, everything. Pop culture, I mean. It's everywhere, isn't it?
Oh, totally. It's like Halloween costumes, people quoting lines, nobody puts Baby in a corner. How many times have you heard that? And don't even get me started on all those attempts to recreate that lift in the lake.
Oh my gosh, yes. Usually ending in disaster, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But why do you think it speaks with us like this, What gives it that staying power?
I think, well, there are a few things. The music, obviously, it's just irresistible. Those classic 60s hits, they just transport you back, don't they? Like a simpler time, maybe. But it's also the themes, I think. That whole idea of finding your voice, defying expectations, first love, everyone can relate to that, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Those are like universal experiences. They don't age. And we can't forget the dancing itself. It's not just there in the background. It's like the heart of the whole movie.
Absolutely. It's so energetic, so sensual. It just pulls you right in.
It does. And the choreography, it's brilliant. The way they blend those different styles, ballroom, a bit of Latin, even some modern moves in there. It's so unique, so visually captivating.
Right. It's not just steps. It's like they're telling a story with their bodies, expressing all those emotions.
You can see so much just in how Baby and Johnny move together.
Yeah.
Like, at first, it's all awkward, hesitant.
Yeah, reflecting that initial discomfort, that uncertainty they're feeling.
Exactly. And then as their relationship, develops, the dancing gets smoother, more passionate.
Right. Mirroring that growing intimacy between them. And you can really see Baby's transformation through the dance. She starts out stiff, unsure.
But with Johnny's guidance, yeah, she finds her rhythm, her own style.
It's like a metaphor for her whole personal growth, isn't it?
It totally is.
Yeah.
Like, she sheds that baby persona and becomes Frances, her real self. Speaking of which, I was thinking about how the film uses her name, that shift between Baby and Frances,
Yeah.
to show her journey.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't thought about that specifically.
Yeah. At the beginning, she's all baby, the sheltered daughter, still under her parents' thumb. But as she explores things, faces those challenges, she reclaims her given name. It's like a symbol of her becoming this mature young woman.
And by the end, Johnny introduces her as Frances. It's like he's acknowledging that growth, that she's not a kid anymore.
Right. He sees her as an equal. It's a subtle thing, but it says so much about their relationship.
It does. And then there's that final dance. I mean, it's not just a romantic climax, right? It's like a declaration. Like they're saying, here we are, this is us.
They're challenging those expectations,
Mhm.
creating their own rules, their own rhythm. And the best part, everyone joins in.
Even Dr. Houseman, talk about a turning point for him.
I know. The energy in that room, it's electric. It's like they've broken down all those walls that separate people. The guests, the staff, the old, the young, everyone's just caught up in the moment.
It's a powerful message, isn't it? About unity, about finding that common ground, even when there are all these differences. And it's all through dance, which is just amazing.
It really is. Dirty Dancing really shows us how powerful music, movement, and storytelling can be when they all come together. But, okay, we've got to talk about the elephant in the room. There has been some criticism over the years, Ron.
Oh, of course. No film is perfect, and this one definitely has its flaws. Some people find the plot predictable, maybe the character is a bit stereotypical.
And there's been that debate about, how feminist the film really is.
Right. Is Baby a strong, independent woman, or is she defined by Johnny and his approval?
It's a tricky question. I think it depends on how you interpret her journey, honestly. But even with its limitations, Dirty Dancing still sparks these important conversations.
It does. It challenges us to think critically about those social issues that are, still relevant today. And that's valuable.
Absolutely. It's a product of its time, for sure. But it still has something to say. And despite its flaws, there's just something so charming about it, something that pulls you in.
It's that yearning for connection, that desire for something more. It's relatable even decades later.
Totally. Sometimes you just need a movie to sweep you away, make you feel those emotions, and leave you with a bit of hope. Dirty Dancing definitely does that.
It does. But before we, wrap up this part of our deep dive, there's someone we haven't talked about yet. Emil Ardolino, the director. He really brought this vision to life.
Oh, absolutely. His background in dance is all over this film. The choreography, how he uses dance to tell the story, it's masterful.
He had such a good eye for detail, like how to capture movement on camera, how to make it all flow. And he was great with the actors, too.
Oh, the casting was perfect. Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey, they had that spark, both on and off screen. It just worked.
I read that Swayze was hesitant to take the role at first. He'd already done Footloose, another dance movie.
And Grey was worried about getting typecast after Ferris Bueller.
Right. But Ardolino, he saw something in them, convinced them to take the leap.
And thank goodness he did. Their performances, they make the whole film. Swayze's got that smoldering intensity, and Grey's got that vulnerability, that determination.
And Ardolino gave them the space to, improvise, bring their own energy to the roles, created a really good atmosphere on set.
And you can feel that in the film. It's both spontaneous and carefully crafted. Ardolino's impact on Dirty Dancing, it can't be overstated. He took this simple story and made it into something truly special.
And sadly, this was one of his last films. He passed away just a few years later. But his legacy, it lives on in this classic.
It really does. It's amazing that a film made almost 40 years ago still feels so fresh, so relevant.
It reminds us that great filmmaking, it's not just about the technical stuff. It's about passion, connection. It's about touching people's hearts.
Well said. Dirty Dancing, it sparks debate, inspires people, and it's got this special place in so many people's hearts. So what about you, listeners? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, what resonates with you? What are your takeaways? Let us know in the comments.
We want to hear from you. We'll be back soon with the final part of our deep dive. Stay tuned. And we're back, still deep in the world of Dirty Dancing. We've talked about the characters, the themes, the impact, even the director. But you know what we haven't really touched on yet? The setting itself. Kellerman's.
Ooh, good point.
Yeah.
It's more than just a pretty backdrop, isn't it?
Exactly. It's like its own character, this whole microcosm of 1963 America. You've got these wealthy families escaping the city, expecting to relax, have fun.
Right, and then you have the staff, working class, catering to their every need. Kind of invisible, but essential to making the whole thing run.
And the film doesn't shy away from that class divide, does it? Like Johnny Castle, he's so talented, but he's constantly reminded of where he fits in or doesn't fit in at Kellerman's.
Totally. Remember that scene with Neil, the owner's grandson, when he offers Johnny a chance to, like, showcase his choreography?
Oh yeah, I thought that was like a good thing at first. Neil giving Johnny a chance to shine.
But there's a catch, right?
Yeah, he limits Johnny to a pachanga. Why was that again?
It was considered more, I don't know, acceptable, palatable for the guests, not too dirty. It shows how even when someone's trying to be nice, those systemic barriers are still there. They're
Yeah.
acknowledging Johnny's talent, but only within these very specific boundaries.
It's like saying you can dance, but not too much. So frustrating.
It is, and it reflects the bigger picture, right? What was happening in society at that time, the civil rights movement, women pushing for more equality, all that. Dirty Dancing might be set in this idyllic bubble, but it's definitely hinting at those tensions simmering beneath the surface.
Wow. Yeah, I never thought about it like that. It's like Baby's journey, finding her voice, it mirrors what was happening in the world outside Kellerman's.
Exactly. And that ending, that big dance number, it offers this little spark of hope. Like maybe those lines are starting to blur a bit.
Everyone's dancing together, the guests, the staff, even Dr. Houseman gets in on the action.
That moment when he joins in, it's like he's finally letting go of some of those prejudices, embracing the changing times.
It's a great scene. It feels like, well, reconciliation, not just between him and Baby, but on a larger scale, too. And it leaves you with this feeling that Baby and Johnny, their story doesn't end there. They'll keep pushing those boundaries, dancing to their own beat.
They will, and it reminds us that change is possible, even if it's slow, even if it's messy. Individuals can make a difference.
And that sometimes all it takes is a little courage and, well, a lot of rhythm to really shake things up.
That's what Dirty Dancing is all about, isn't it? It's fun, it's entertaining, but it also makes you think, makes you want to be a little braver, a little bolder.
To step out of that comfort zone and fight for a world where everyone can just dance, be themselves.
Exactly. So, as we wrap up our deep dive into Dirty Dancing, we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts? What stuck with you?
Did you try that lift? And, well, how did that go?
No spoilers. But seriously, share your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep this conversation going.
And if this deep dive inspired you to, I don't know, put on your dancing shoes, we definitely don't blame you.
Get out there and move.
And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into all the movies we love. Until next time, keep on dancing.